Have you ever sat in a room full of people, even friends or family, and felt like there was an invisible glass wall between you and everyone else? It's a heavy, quiet sensation. The feeling that you're an observer in a world where everyone else received a manual for belonging that you somehow missed. When you live with this chronic sense of displacement, your brain starts to adapt. You develop specific habits and behaviors to cope with the isolation, many of which seem perfectly normal on the surface. But underneath, these actions are often a desperate attempt to bridge the gap between yourself and the rest of the world. Today, we're looking at the first few things people do when they feel like they don't belong anywhere. The first thing you might notice is that you've become a master of observation. While others are busy living in the moment, you are busy studying it. You watch how people tilt their heads when they're interested, the specific slang they use, and the unspoken rules of when it's okay to laugh. This isn't just curiosity, it's data collection. Because you don't feel a natural click with the group, you try to intellectualize social interaction. You mirror the body language of the person you're talking to and carefully calibrate your tone to match the room. To everyone else, you seem like a great listener or someone who's easy to get along with. But internally, you're running a complex simulation just to make sure you don't stand out for the wrong reasons. Another common behavior is the habit of chronic apologizing. If you feel like you don't belong, you often view your very existence as an inconvenience to others. You find yourself saying, "Sorry," for taking up a seat, for asking a necessary question at work, or even for someone else bumping into you in a hallway. This constant stream of apologies is a defense mechanism designed to shrink your presence. You're essentially telling the world, "I know I'm an outsider, and I promise to be as little trouble as possible." It's a way to preemptively ask for forgiveness for the crime of being there. You feel like a guest in every room you enter. And as a guest, you're terrified of overstaying your welcome or breaking an unspoken rule. You might also find that you've become a social chameleon, but in a way that leaves you feeling even more empty. When you feel like you don't have a tribe of your own, you start to borrow parts of other people's identities. You might adopt the hobbies of a new acquaintance or agree with opinions you don't actually hold just to maintain the peace. It isn't that you're being intentionally deceptive. It's that you're trying to find a version of yourself that fits. You're searching for a hook to hang your identity on so that you can finally feel like you're part of something. The tragedy is that the more you blend in, the more you realize that the person they like isn't actually you. It's just the reflection you've created for them. This leads directly into the third behavior, becoming a chronic observer. When you feel like you don't fit the mold, you stop participating in the moment and start studying it instead. You become a social anthropologist in your own life, watching how people tilt their heads when they laugh, noting which topics are safe to discuss, and memorizing the unspoken hierarchy of the room. It's a survival mechanism. You believe that if you can just crack the code of how everyone else is interacting so effortlessly, you might finally be able to join them. But the more you watch, the more you feel like a ghost haunting a party, present in body, but fundamentally separated by a glass wall that no amount of observation can break. Fourth on the list is the habit of over-apologizing for your mere existence. When you don't feel like you belong, you often feel like a guest in every room you enter, even your own home. You apologize for taking up a seat, for asking a question, or for having a basic need. You've internalized the idea that you are an imposition, a glitch in the social fabric that everyone else is weaving. This "sorry" isn't about a specific mistake. It's a preemptive strike against the rejection you're certain is coming. It's your way of saying, "I know I don't belong here, so please don't be mad at me for trying." You try to make your footprint as small as possible, hoping that if you're quiet enough and polite enough, no one will notice you're an intruder. Then, there is the fifth sign, the constant development of an exit strategy. If you've ever walked into a social gathering and immediately located the nearest door, or checked your phone to see how much time has passed before it's polite to leave, you know this feeling well. When you don't feel like you belong, every social interaction feels like a high-stakes performance that you can't wait to finish. You live in a state of hypervigilance, waiting for the moment the conversation lulls or the vibe shifts so you can slip away unnoticed. You'd rather leave early and feel lonely at home than stay and feel lonely in a room full of people. By being the one to leave first, you maintain a shred of control over the inevitable feeling of being left behind. You convince yourself that you aren't being excluded. You're just choosing to go. It's a defense mechanism designed to protect your heart from the sting of being the last person picked for the team. Moving on to number 6, you become the perpetual helper. When you feel like your presence isn't enough on its own, you try to earn your spot by being useful. You're the person who starts washing the dishes at a party, the one who offers to drive everyone home, or the person who spends the entire event organizing the snacks. By turning yourself into a service provider, you give yourself a role that justifies you being there. It's a way to quiet that inner voice that says, you're taking up space you haven't paid for. If you're busy being helpful, nobody can tell you that you don't belong because you've made yourself indispensable to the flow of the room. 7th on our list is hypervigilance. You aren't just sitting in a room, you are scanning it. You become a master at reading micro-expressions and shifts in body language. You're constantly looking for the exact moment the vibe changes, or the second someone looks slightly bored with the conversation. For most people, a lull in a chat is just a natural pause. But for you, it's a signal that you've overstayed your welcome or said something wrong. You are essentially a social scientist in your own life, observing the data of human interaction rather than actually experiencing it. This hyper-awareness is exhausting, but you feel it's the only way to stay one step ahead of the rejection you're certain is coming. Number 8 is the chameleon effect. Because you don't feel like you have a designated home group, you become whoever the people around you want you to be. You find yourself mirroring the interests, the slang, and even the opinions of the person you're talking to. It isn't that you're being fake or manipulative. It's a survival tactic. You've learned that if you can blend into the background of whatever group you're in, you can avoid the discomfort of standing out as the other. The tragedy of the chameleon, however, is that while you might successfully fit in everywhere, you never feel like you truly belong anywhere, because the person they are accepting isn't actually you. It's just the version of you that you've curated for that specific moment. Building on that curated persona leads to the 9th thing people do. They always keep one foot out the door. When you feel like an outsider, you develop a 6th sense for exit strategies. You might find yourself parked in a way that ensures you can't be boxed in, or you're the person at the party who never takes their coat off. You stay near the periphery of the room, not because you're shy, but because you're prepared for the moment the illusion breaks. This constant state of readiness is a defense mechanism. If you never fully unpack your emotional bags, it won't hurt as much when you inevitably feel the need to move on. You've convinced yourself that it's better to be the one who leaves than the one who is left behind or found out. Finally, the 10th thing people do is develop a profound, almost painful sense of nostalgia for a place they've never actually been. You might call it homesickness for a home that doesn't exist on any map. This often manifests as a deep obsession with specific fictional worlds, historical eras, or even just the quiet atmosphere of a rainy night in a city you've never visited. You aren't just a fan of these things. You are looking for the frequency that matches your soul. You spend your life looking for your people or your place, feeling like a traveler who accidentally got off at the wrong station and is now just trying to make the best of a layover that has lasted for years. The common thread in all 10 of these behaviors is the search for safety. When you feel like you don't belong, the world feels inherently unpredictable. You mask, you over-observe, and you withdraw because you are trying to minimize the friction between your true self and a world that feels foreign. But here is the hard truth. You cannot find where you belong if you are always hiding who you are. The very walls you've built to protect yourself are the same ones keeping your tribe from finding you. If you recognized yourself in these points, know that your longing for connection isn't a defect. It's a compass. It means you haven't settled for fine, and you haven't completely lost yourself in the performance. The goal isn't to finally learn how to fit in with everyone else. It's to find the courage to be the version of yourself that doesn't require a mask. Belonging isn't something you achieve by changing your shape. It's something you find when you finally stop trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. It takes time, and it takes a lot of uncomfortable honesty, but eventually, you will find the place where you can finally take your coat off and stay a while.